Hello, welcome to the Beard Out Podcast. Podcast where we talk about the two greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al Yankovic. My Aunt Lala and my dad are the hosts of the show. Thanks for listening to the Beard Out Podcast, part of the iPods Media Network. Stay weird and enjoy the show.
And an add the button.
Well, hey, how are you doing? Have a seat. Have a drink. Boy, I can glad to see ya. What can you say? Where's Lala?
Hello, friends. You know, we love bringing you this show, and we love bringing you very special episodes. And of course, you know, this is the Beard Out Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And I know I promised last week that we were going to have our friend Tyler on the show to talk about Weird Al's self-titled debut album.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler. It's good to be back.
Yeah, right. Well, Tyler decided it was more important to get ready for their last semester of last year of college than it was to appear on our show this week.
In a word?
I know, the gall, the unmitigated gall.
Yep.
No, for real. Tyler will be here very soon. And I think one of the benefits of having a husband in the house who is part of the podcasting world is that when scheduling snafus like this occur, I don't freak out because it's like, well, we can put a show together. And I think what we're going to be doing here today is a great thing for us to kick off on this show, because I have people come to me all the time with just stories of how much Weird Al means to them, or why they like Weird Al, or just like Weird Al stories that they have. And why not spend a whole episode with a person talking about how Weird Al is woven into their lives?
Yeah, what's interesting for me about this is the genesis of this idea for this series came from the Close Personal Friends of Al group, because you had posted in the group that you were looking for people to give you clips because you want to do another short clip show of, you know, hey, what's Weird Al mean to me, and that type of thing. And there was a gentleman, and I forget his name. So
Ron.
Ron. Okay, if you listen to the show, Ron, I apologize that I forgot your name, but he had mentioned like, oh, well, I would need an hour to talk about, right? And it's like, I instantly recall the first time that I sent a clip to you for your show, and I was very much the same way. Like when I sat down to record that, I was like, I can't, this is, how does this, yeah. How does, so I kind of left my own story out of that clip and just was like, overall, like this is what he means to like me as far as like his place in the world and my place in the world, right? But because of that comment from that guy Ron on the group, I literally said to you, I said, well, that's what you should do, is like do those clip shows, but then also just have people on to tell their whole story, whether their story is 20 minutes or an hour, right? And then when you needed me to pinch hit for this episode, I was like, oh, well, I have like, in literally, like I told you before we hit record that I have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 touchstones in my life that I want to share with people. But this could be a 3-4 hour episode if I was to share like all of my Weird Alisms, you know, or like stories and stuff. Like the first time that I met him is not even going to be a part of what I'm sharing here. Like that's how big other Weird Al moments are that have shaped like my life and whatnot.
I think that's awesome. And so, yeah, you did allude to something, and I am still looking for these because it's the end of August right now. So I need by the beginning of October, you know, if you've got 2 or 3 minutes and you want to sit down, record something for me to put in a clip show to how important Weird Al is to you, what Weird Al means to you, please do so and email it to beerdalpodcast@gmail.com. And if you need any sort of incentive, I have it on very good Al authority that the last time we did an episode like this. The man himself did listen to it and was touched by it. So
Which is awesome.
Yeah. If you have something that you absolutely like want to make sure gets in Weird Al's ear, that's the episode to do it, my friends. Send me something because he's out there. He's listening.
2 bits I want to add to that. If you are a listener of the show and you don't have your own podcast or you don't have any sort of recording equipment at home, don't let that hold you back. Like, just take a voice message on your phone, a voice note or something like that. Use like the voice recorder on your phone. Record that clip. Send it to Lauren. Don't worry about your ums and ahs or if you stop and start or whatever else. Like Lauren in the Odd Pods group here, we've got plenty of great audio wizards between all of us to where like no matter what clip you send us, we can make it sound good.
Yep.
So don't let that hold you back if you listen to podcasts, but you've never contributed one before. And then also know that, like I said about that gentleman, Ron, and myself, if your story is longer than 3 minutes, and it probably is, just share maybe something and then know that will put you in the running for doing what I'm about to do, is being the focus of an entire episode about Weird Al. So I would tell you those 2 things. Like if what's holding you back from contributing to something like this is you don't have recording equipment or your story is, huge, then don't let those 2 things hold you back.
Yeah, I would much rather you send me like a nugget, a fraction of your story that'll make me go, oh, I want to hear more of this.
Exactly. Yeah. Send something that makes you go, that makes Lauren or the listeners be like, wow, I want to hear the rest of that guy's story.
Yeah, for sure.
Or woman's story.
Or that person's story. Yes. Yeah. Or that dog's story even. Who knows?
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Or if you're a hamster who's had your life changed.
I bet
by Weird
most
Al.
of the dog stories would be rough.
Oh.
See what I did?
I do. Yeah, but so that we're gonna stop hounding you for stories now.
Oh, good one.
And
to go back to stories, my Weird Al fandom and just this side of obsession goes all the way back to the very first time that I heard "Eat It," which I understand that for a lot of people, like their first Weird Al song is probably "Smells Like Nirvana" or "White and Nerdy" or even "Eat It" or whatever. But it's usually a parody first, right? Okay, so if anybody happens to be familiar with me or Lauren and I's work on the Infectious Groove music channel on YouTube, or my own personal work, one of the things in life that I'm extremely passionate about is Michael Jackson. And when I was a kid, even in the first year and a half where Thriller exploded, even in that first year, I would say 90% of planet Earth loved this guy. And the other 10% had jokes about whether it was about how he was raised or how his looks had already started to change or his high voice or how shy he was. There was already, and none of it was ever good natured, ever. And even as a small kid, I was already sensitive to that. Like I was like, why? Like I've never liked bullies. Like I've never been a bully myself, or I don't believe that I have been. I'm never on purpose, and even as a small kid, I was just like, why? Like, why do people bully this guy? Right. So all that is to say that when I first heard "Eat It," the very first thing that I thought was, oh, awesome. Great. Now this jerk is making, because I hadn't heard the lyrics or anything yet, and I didn't have anything to do with race. I know a lot of people at first were like, and I'm talking way back when "Eat It" first came out, like a lot of people were like, oh, why is the white guy making fun of the black guy? And I wasn't concerned with that. I just thought, oh, here's another person poking fun at MJ. And as serious as I took MJ at that time, and still do, the very first time that I heard "Eat It," the thing that stuck out to me before the lyrics being funny or even the video being as brilliant as it is or anything was, oh, this is good natured. Like this has nothing, like the guy could have taken a million shots at MJ. Right. And in the video, he doesn't. It's more like even the dancing that he's kind of doing like MJ is more like to showcase that Weird Al can't dance and not that he's trying to make fun of MJ's dancing. Right. But the lyrics, a million different ways he could have made fun of MJ at that time. And there's not even one allusion toward anything to do with MJ in the song. It's just like, hey, this is really funny set of lyrics. Right. Yep. And as a kid, that was the thing that stood out to me before anything else. And that's what made me buy in 3D. Like I didn't buy the 7-inch for "Eat It." Like I was like, I'm going to buy this whole record, I had no idea what the rest of it was. I mean, it could have been all,
could have been all polkas.
I had no idea what to expect. And even by the titles, I'm not looking at a copy of it in 3D right now, but by the titles of the song, I don't think I looked
Midnight
at
Star
it.
theme from Rocky 13.
Yeah, I don't think I looked at it and was like, oh, this is also going to have
Popeil.
a version of Eye of the Tiger or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
even looking at the album, I didn't think that. I was just like, oh, this is neat, right? And then when I put it on and I heard Brady Bunch and theme from Rocky 13, I was
King
just
of
like,
Suede.
I was like, this dude's so. Oh, you know what's weird about King of Suede? Oh, this is so dumb. I can't believe I'm going to announce this on your show. So at the time, the police for me was just Every Breath You Take and Wrapped Around Your Finger. That's the only songs I'd heard. I didn't even know King of Suede was a parody, and for like 5 years. Until it was like some bar or something. When I was like 17 or 18, I was in like some sort of pool hall thing where you're like not really supposed to be at that age, you know? And I heard King of Pain and I was like, oh, like I know, because I never bought Synchronicity. Like for me, The Police was the two songs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had no idea that King of Pain even existed.
That's great.
Yeah. And then like 5 years later, I was like, dude, that was totally a Police song the whole time. Like I had no idea. But anyways, for me, like that's where my Weird Al story starts. And I love that, and we'll keep touching on this, but at no point have I ever in Weird Al's career been like, oh, that's kind of mean. Like even about anything ever. Like there's never been a thing where I've been like, oh, I wish he hadn't said that. You know, like in a lyric or whatever. Even when he's got songs where you could flat out say he's making fun of the artist.
Smells Like Nirvana.
And there's others I can't think of right now.
Perform This Way?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Look, there you go. He's as much poking fun at the media and the media's obsession with what Lady Gaga does as opposed to poking direct fun at her.
Yeah,
right?
I think the closest in that particular genre of Weird Al's oeuvre is Achy Breaky Song, which he kind of feels a little bad about.
Yeah, but in his defense, when things like that happen, like I always talk to you about this in our personal life, the Paradise City effect, right? Detroit had 4 rock stations at the time Paradise City came out. And I'm not being funny when I say this. One of the 4 stations was always playing Paradise City at some point because it's like a 6.5 minute jam, you know? So I'm not kidding you. One of the 4 stations was always playing. And you get to, like, I'm one of the world's biggest GNR fans, right? I think Appetite's the best debut record of all time by anybody. And even I was like, if you play Paradise City one more time, I'm going to drive to the station and flip at least one table. Like y'all got to quit that, right?
Yeah.
So with Achy Breaky Song, even if you just adore Billy Ray Cyrus and you love that song, 2 months into that, you were like, please stop playing that song.
Yeah.
So I understand that. Like Weird Al and I disagree on 2 very important things to me. One is far more important than the other. One is I don't think he should be ashamed of Achy Breaky Song being mean because I don't think it's mean. 2, and this is far more important, Party of the Leper Colony is awesome.
Yes.
And the fact that Weird Al doesn't like it breaks my heart.
So you have an achy breaky heart.
Yeah. I should write an Achy Breaky Song about it.
You should.
But so that stuck with me so much. And then when I picked up Dare to Be Stupid, I was like really excited that, oh, okay, so this is what he does. Like, I don't mean the parodies and the pastiches. I mean good-natured fun. This is what he does, right? Like I was like, yes, great.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing too. You get that big off that one song, and with Madonna being the thing that he's going to do next, he absolutely could have chose to be mean to her or anybody on that record.
Yeah,
really.
he had every right to, I guess, and like a normal person probably would have.
Right.
But
so
he's not normal.
You know, that whole thing for the way that like my relationship as a fan started off with Weird Al, you couldn't have started off any better because if he'd done any other artist, I wouldn't have cared as much that he wasn't poking fun at him, right? But because it was MJ and it was already a big deal to me as a kid, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then the rest of it was just like every time he came out with a record, I was like, okay, awesome. Like he's still doing the nice thing. You know, like you can have jokes without it always being at someone else's expense or being mean, right? So there's that. And then I know I told you ahead of time there was a couple like touchstone points. So I already briefly mentioned picking up Dare to Be Stupid. The next big moment in my Weird Al fandom, it was really upsetting when it happened. So I'm not going to say, I'm going to share this in a funny way, but when it happened, it was really, really upsetting.
And the fact that you still bring this upcoming story like that you'll bring it up just like randomly, like that hurt part of your soul when it happened.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I always tell people, I'm like, I can drive you right to where this happened.
Yep.
And when you and I visited Detroit, I made it a point to go up Telegraph Road so I could be like right there is where Aspen Records used to be. That's where the thing happened. So to stop keeping your listeners in suspense, what occurred was there was a record store at 12 Mile and Telegraph in Detroit, Michigan, just south of Telegraph just south of M59. It wasn't 12 Mile Telegraph. It was M59 Telegraph. It was just south of M59 on the east side of Telegraph. There was a record store called Aspen Records. And we used to go in there to buy records because at the time it was a deal that all of their albums were $5.99, whether they were new release, old release, double album or not. If you bought it on vinyl, it was $5.99. So that was like their thing. That's how they got you there. Okay, because at the time, new release records, the week they came out would be $5.99, but then they'd go up to like $7. And we're talking like Kmart,
right, yeah.
They'd go up to $7.99, but double records always started out at $7.99. So the hook of Aspen Records was you're always going to get it for $6. Okay, so we used to go there a lot, and I went in there one day when the week the Polka Party came out, and I was buying Polka Party, and the people at the register like absolutely just insulted the crap out of me for buying Polka Party. Like they were just like openly laughing at me for buying this album. And I was just like, what am I missing? Like, cause Weird Al was never weird to me. Like I loved him for the first two records. Like I wasn't, and as far as I knew, everybody else did, you know what I mean? Like I'd never run into somebody who was like, Weird Al is dumb.
Well, that's that's interesting, because when Polka Party came out, you were like 11, okay?
Yeah.
Because it came out in 86.
Yep.
And when John and I got into Weird Al, we went to see him in concert a couple of times. So I had, the T-shirts and stuff. I have said this on the show so many times, like, I didn't wear them to school anywhere near as much as I wanted to because people were going to make fun of me, And so, like, it must have been nice to be in a world where you didn't think about the fact that, like, people would pick on you for Weird Al. And that's, like, a very sobering moment.
Well, that's a different... Okay, so the 90s were very different from the 80s in that respect. In the 80s, and I always tell you this all the time, if you pick up... if you go on, even online and you look at the top 10 albums for any week of any year of the 80s, you want to talk about diversity, it's all there.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? If you look at literally any top 10 albums for any week in the 1980s, it's crazy diverse. And we all loved what we all loved. Like everybody I know was always like, you would stand at the supermarket next to a 40-year-old woman wearing a Thriller jacket, and behind her would be a 16-year-old girl dressed like Madonna. And behind her would be like a 40-year-old guy literally on purpose dressed like Springsteen, like trying to give off the Springsteen vibe. And then a Don Johnson guy was in line. You know what I mean? Like, that's how like people dress that way because these were the things that they loved. And no one, like at the time, nobody ever poked fun at anybody else for those things. Like now, a lot of people have the nerve to like go back and act like the things they didn't like in the 80s, that they liked in the 80s were lame or whatever else. Like, no, none of that's true. But in the 90s, things were very, very, very territorial, very territorial. Like I've told you so many times, I was the only person I knew in 1992 that was listening to KMFDM, a German industrial band.
You played them for me, and like that is so like not something I'd normally go for, but I was like, okay.
But like 92, I was listening to that. I was listening to The Chronic by Dr. Dre. I was listening to No More Tears by Ozzy. I was listening to Use Your Illusion. I was listening to I think In Utero hadn't come out yet, but Nirvana and all that. And I was the only person I knew that was listening to all of that stuff. And like everybody else I knew was very, very, very sectored, right? So that's the difference between when I got into Weird Al and when you did, because things were far more tribal by the 90s.
Yeah.
Where people were so the first time that anybody ever said anything bad about Weird Al to me was that day I was trying to buy Polka Party. And I was livid. Like was like, why would you, as an 11-year-old, I'm like, why would you be mean to a kid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And second of all, like you work in a shop that's dedicated to art, which is all subjective. You know what I mean? Like, I know people are going to come in here the whole rest of the day and buy a bunch of music I don't ever want to hear. You know what I mean? Like why? Is this an issue? If I, so I think that's one reason why Polka Party's always been more endearing to me. Like I get very defensive when people say it's a bad album because first of all, it's not. And
It's
second of all,
totally not.
No, and second of all, it is one of those things where that record is very personal to me because of what occurred that day.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Troy, hush up. Come here, buddy. Come here. He went to my office first.
Oh, no.
Come here, buddy. It's a good boy. Okay. So for me, there's so much to love about that record that that's always stuck with me. Like I literally, the one time you've been to Detroit, I made it clear that I wanted to drive. It's not even there anymore. The record store hasn't even been there for like 35 years.
Yeah, it's probably because
Yeah, I know. Because they insulted Polka
insulted Weird Al and they just did not make right with the universe.
Yeah. But it was so weird to me. It was just like this guy who I totally got into because he would never make fun of somebody else. And here I am being made fun of for buying his record. Which I thought it's just weird. It's just weird to do that to someone, you know? And then, and again, for anybody listening to this, like I'm skipping huge parts of Weird Al's
Oeuvre.
Yeah, oeuvre. And I have stories for almost every record. So I'm just cherry picking here. Like I've told you, Lauren, the story of the family trip when UHF came out and all that, which was awesome. But the next big thing in my life that I remember that was like really, really amazing to me, the type of impact Weird Al could have on your life was I had lived in Detroit my entire life. And then in the fall of 94, when I was 19, my parents needed to move to Tampa. And it was like, well, I don't have like any sort of career yet here to stay. So I'm going to go. So I had to go to Tampa with my folks. So I moved away from like everybody I'd ever met for the first time in my entire life. And the only people I knew when we moved to Tampa, well, it's Brandon, Florida. It's just outside Tampa. But the only people that I knew was my parents, and that's it. And so naturally, because of who I am, I went and got a job at Software, etc. Like it's Babbage's type. It's what became GameStop.
Yeah.
It was EB Games for a while, then it became GameStop. So the parent, like 3 generations ago of that story. Yeah. And one of the very first days that I went there to work was the release day for Bad Hair Day. And I just picked it up on the way to work. And like by this point in life, I had endured all of, like I say, the early 90s stuff where people are like, I can't believe you're listening to Michael Jackson's Dangerous and you're also listening to The Chronic. And I was like, I can't believe you're not.
Right.
I had learned more about how to stick up for myself. Right. So when I bought Bad Hair Day, there was like no leaving it in the car, hoping no one would see it, or like being like, oh, what'd you buy at the record store? Nothing. Like I was just like, yeah, I got the new Weird Al.
Yep.
And go
blank yourself.
Yes. And so on.
Go eat corn the long way.
Yeah. So when I got that, I was just like, well, I got a new Weird Al album. And so at least I got that going for me.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that I worked with at the store who was like, hey, is that a Weird Al album? And I was like, yeah, it's his new album. And I wasn't interested in the conversation because the last time that I openly tried to talk to someone about Weird Al was the Polka Party incident.
Oh, the Polka Party incident.
And so I was like, yep. And he was like, oh man, I love Weird Al. And I don't know if you do this, but a lot of times I do this with other artists where I'm like, hey, you don't love him like I do though. You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh, that's neat. Because a lot of times at that time, most people, I love Weird Al meant that you have heard Smells Like Nirvana twice.
Right.
Right. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's good for you. Right. And the guy started going off about how much he loves everything from Dare to Be Stupid Forward. And at the time, he didn't even know about In 3D or the first record. So I had to tell him about that, which was just a whole other story.
Crazy.
But I made, him as a friend. And then through him, a bunch of people that were friends with him. I literally made an entire group of friends in a new city for being on my own for the first time in a new city because of buying a Weird Al record. Right. And then we used to drive from Tampa to Orlando nearly every weekend for either a theme park or bowling or mini golf or whatever. And every single weekend for that entire summer of, I think, 95, whenever.
96. Yeah.
Okay. I was probably off on my years when I said earlier. But anyways, because I was definitely in Florida when Bad Hair Day came out. But anyways, we would drive to Orlando, and at the time, Adam Sandler's second record had come out as well. I think it's called What the Hell Happened to Me. But anyways, his second record had come out. And we'd listen to one or the other all the way to and from Orlando. So it would be like the Adam Sandler record all the way there and then Bad Hair Day all the way back, or Bad Hair Day all the way there and Sandler. So like, first of all, I'm not even a huge Adam Sandler fan, but I can quote that record like word for word because I heard it so many times. But with Bad Hair Day, it was like everybody, no matter what combination of groups went, there was always me and my one buddy that I met in the first place. So like Bad Hair Day was always in play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like no matter what else was going on.
Well, Bad Hair Day, first of all, Bad Hair Day should always be in play. And Bad Hair Day, it's funny looking at it now, and I can also see something like a Bad Hair Day making sense for whoever you had in the car, because there's something that everybody's going to get a chuckle at.
It's a very well balanced record for all of the different genres that were going on at the time, right? Like there's nearly something for everybody on there.
Yeah.
So it was, it didn't matter. Like if we had people in the car who only listened to hip hop, at least when Phony Call started, they were like, oh, no way. You know, like, and I remember that exact thing happening. Like really the only thing that was lost was like the originals or pastiches. People weren't like, oh, turn this off. But they were like, I thought he only did stuff that sounds like other songs. And you're like, no, but whatever. But yeah, it was a really good, well-balanced record for that. And it was awesome that, again, here's like, for as bad as the Polka Party thing was, like, here's, several albums later, I'm able to make a whole group of friends stemming from buying a Weird Al album.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. And you know what? This seems like a good point in time because I have to put ads in this episode. So this is where they're going to go. So ads are ahead. We shall see you on the other side of them.
Once upon a time.
Boring.
It was the best of times. It was the worst.
You got that right.
What's your problem?
We want new stories.
Hi, it's Frankie.
And Garrett. And we host the Ever Trending Story, a weekly podcast where we bring to life a fictional story created by our own minds and some of the hottest, craziest trends from the internet.
Find us wherever you download podcasts, and be sure to join the fun on social media at EverTrendingPod.
And we're back! Hooray.
Man and the cat, get back in that cat.
That's so much fun to do.
I adore that. It's one of my favorite. I think my two favorite SNL sketches, and of course they all have to do with radio or music, but I think my two favorite SNL sketches of all time is the Man and the cat, get back in that cat, and we're back.
Yeah.
That, and no one else remembers this one, but Jimmy Fallon doing the Beethoven introducing his band members. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. I will never, I've probably seen that, no exaggeration, I've probably seen it 200 times.
That's
and
great.
I'll never not laugh at it, ever.
It's so funny.
That his wife is B flower, his key is B flat, and his wife B ugly. He's our lead flautist, and he loves to flout it. I could just, if anybody listening has not seen this, just go to YouTube and look for Jimmy Fallon Beethoven, and you will find the SNL sketch. It's a very Las Vegas showroom style. Hey, let me introduce the band members to you that are playing the fine hits for you this evening. Like Billy on the bass over here, and then he takes a solo. But it's Beethoven doing that.
Yeah, it's
and
delightful.
It is beautiful.
Yep.
It absolutely kills me.
It's flawless.
So,
it really is.
Yep. Yeah. But anyways,
yeah.
And we're back.
Back to the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were the three primary stories that you wanted to touch on. Yeah,
that were things that like really led up to, and like I say, I probably have a story literally for every album, that's been released all the way up into Mandatory Fun, But the other thing too, and it's very funny because one of the first things that your parents asked me when we met.
This is such a silly question.
Your mom wanted to know if I was a Weird Al fan before I met you, or if I had just become a Weird Al fan because of you. And I thought that was very funny. So it's every time Facebook memories of mine come up with me playing Weird Al, a half a decade or a decade ago, I always make sure to show, look, I was listening to Weird Al then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, it's a prerequisite for.
I found I don't know if the listeners will totally understand the way it happened, but the way I can paint the picture is it was like asking your religion, like an in-law would be like, so were you raised Jewish or like, so So you're a Christian, or like, it was very, and I'm not making fun of it at
No.
all. I understand that that's, very much how in-laws, important question. And your mom was more or less like, so you were raised Orthodox, or like, you know what I mean? Like she was like,
Or were you agnostic?
yeah, you know what I mean? Like she was very like, it was much like asking the religion, like, so have you practiced Weird Alism since you were a kid, or and I was like, yes, Jen. Like, I've practiced Weird Al for many, many, many decades now.
Oh my gosh, I've worshipped at the altar of Yankovic.
Yeah. But and that's one of those things. I'm sure your listeners are aware of this now, but like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I say one of because my kid and stuff, but the best thing that's ever happened to me came about because of Weird Al. And I don't think I've ever shared this on your show before. I know you are aware of this, but I'll share this with your listeners.
Okay.
I'm what I know that on your show I've said this before, that I'm what I refer to as a recovering music snob. And when I first heard about your show, because I have done a heavy amount of drinking in my time, so I know a bit about beer, and I think we've established that I know a lot about Weird Al, and he's an extremely important part of my life.
Yep.
When I first saw or heard anything of the Beard Al podcast, it was like the Beard Al podcast. We cover beer and Weird Al, and out loud, I said, "I'll be the judge of that," and then I was like, I listened. I listened to it because I was like, okay, well, first of all, I don't understand how those things go together. And second of all, and I've told you this, I've been very open with you. I thought for sure it was going to be like a bro type show. Like it was going to be a bunch of bros sitting around being like, yeah, we drink this beer and like also smells like Nirvana is funny.
Yep.
And I was going to be, and that's why I was going to be wildly upset. And I was extremely pleasantly surprised. And I've said this to you many times. I feel like, I don't know if he listens regularly. I think it would be weird if Weird Al was like, let me listen to people talk about me all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he doesn't listen regularly. But if he does, I feel like, I don't, it's not my place to speak for him. But if I were Weird Al, I would be like, that's the type of show that I want about me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this show is a very good representation of what Weird Al does, right? So I was like, just elated to find out that in the first place, to be like, oh, this is exactly what I want it to be. When I was like, oh, I'll be the judge of that. Well, like, great.
Yay.
This is awesome, And then I think that without oversharing about our personal life, a lot of what we've both learned from Weird Al helps our lives, I think.
I do. Yeah, I concur.
Besides just the whole like even meeting in the first place because of Weird Al. But you and I were just speaking recently, and again, I want to walk a line here and keep like a lot of stuff private. But you and I were talking about like when I physically moved to Jacksonville, a lot of trust on either side was placed in. Well, it's a Weird Al people are good people though. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that I can't think of another artist that you would be able to do that with.
No.
Like I'm a huge Prince fan. I love Pink Floyd. Like I don't think I'd ever be like, oh, I'm going to totally trust that this Roger Waters fan is like, you know what I mean? And I say that, I adore Roger Waters. He's my favorite songwriter of all time. But also, like maybe not, like, here's a much better example. GNR, as you know, they don't have the best fans in the world. And I can't think of, I have a handful of friends that are GNR fans that I met through the GNR fan community. But I have a whole lot more people that I've blocked from every social media ever,
Yeah.
And Weird Al's like the only artist I can think of that I would ever make a life-changing thing and just trust in the fact that, okay, well, this person loves Weird Al, so like they gotta be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy. But yes, no, I totally get what you're saying. And I mean, I think that's why, like, again, you made a note of it before, but like my mom's question, like, did you like Weird Al before or what? And like, that's also, that's really it's almost a judge of character question.
Yeah.
Like if you've been a fan of Weird Al for the majority of your life, the way that you and I have, then you know what? Like, that's kind of like your baseline for what a good person ought to be. And I'm going to say this because I try not to judge people, but people that don't get Weird Al or for some reason think that they're above that humor, first of all, Weird Al's humor is above all of us.
Yeah, I know.
So nobody's above it.
Yeah.
But like people that don't get it,
I say this with zero comedy. I don't trust people that don't like Weird Al. And I know that sounds like I'm not being funny. I don't trust people that don't like Weird Al. Like there's something wrong with you. And I'm not being funny when I say that. There's something wrong with you if you don't like Weird Al. Like if you can't appreciate what the guy does, like I can't help you with most things in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That to me, like all art is subjective, right? But what we're talking about is what this guy does. No, I'm not saying you have to like Weird Al's music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if you don't like Weird Al, then I don't trust you.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like some of my dearest friends are not like, they wouldn't sit down and like actively listen to Weird Al. But one of my great joys is trying to find a Weird Al song that somebody may not have heard and introduce them to it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. It was, I Was Only Kidding for our friend Trish for the first time.
Yeah.
And I know the joke of that song, you know? And so I hit play on it for her and I watched her face when the joke hit. And I'm like, that was like hearing it for the first time again.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean she's ever going to sit down and listen to it again. But she was like, oh, that's really funny. Like,
The only time the story that springs to mind off the top of my head for me is, and we just talked about this the other day, but the only time I ever sang "You Don't Love Me Anymore" for you at the karaoke, every single line of that song, I was able to watch people around the bar be like, what did he just say? Like, you know, like, and people were like, and then people would pick it up on a line and be like, what? And then they'd pay attention and then they'd be laughing at the next line, you know? And I was just like, oh, I'm delivering Al to people for the first time. This is awesome.
This is great. That's how I felt with that. Because last night at karaoke, I did Smells Like Nirvana for the very first time. And I told you that that's
which
going
I was
in
stunned you had never done it before.
I don't know. I guess I didn't feel, I don't know. But that is going in my rotation. But yeah, seeing people get what I was doing as I was doing it it's delightful when it happens.
And even, you know, like to touch on the point, like if you were sitting here near this, like just the world's most staunch Nirvana fan, right? Like you can't be mad at Smells Like Nirvana. Like, yeah, it's poking fun at Kurt, but like Kurt also, when Al was like, no, it's not gonna be about food, it's gonna be with the effect of people who can only understand your lyrics. Kurt was like, fair play. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Kurt was like, that's right.
You know, and Dave Grohl was like, that was the biggest honor of my life. I'm like, well, obviously.
Yeah. So for me, there's like, it's kind of a full circle moment here, but like the person on the close personal friends page said, this is all the stories I've shared here are like, and even these are like the truncated versions of the stories. Like the Aspen Record story is much longer than when I went to buy in 3D at Meyer Thrifty Acres on Pontiac Lake Road in Waterford, Michigan is a much longer story, you know, and it's all been so closely interconnected. But I will say one other thing too, is I think that Aspen Records situation toughened me up a lot as a Weird Al fan for going into the 90s where people became more tribal with their music tastes.
Yeah.
But because of that going forward, I was like, I do not like if people were like, oh yeah, you know what, I kind of think Weird Al's funny. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I do not care at all. If you have an adverse opinion on Weird Al, I do not care at all. Right. Mm-hmm. And I would just be like, I'm done with that part of this conversation now, and then continue listening to Weird Al.
Exactly. And so, you know what, because you have been a Weird Al fan in every decade of his career, and you have been conscious of the reception of him and his music and kind of what it feels like to be a Weird Al fan. You may not have an answer to this because like I don't think it can be argued now that like Weird Al absolutely is a quote beloved cultural icon.
Yeah,
like whether
sure.
you like him or not. At what point did he go from being that niche weird thing that like only like you know that he only does the parodies blah 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 blah. When did he go from just the Eat It guy or the Smells Like Nirvana guy to like, oh, that's Weird Al?
I have an answer for that. It's probably going to be kind of a bold / hot take.
Ooh.
But I don't feel that happened until he got his #1 record for Mandatory Fun.
Okay.
I feel strongly that up till that point, and I know it's old hat for any of us Weird Al fans, but the thing he talks about in his Behind the Music with the record label being like, didn't we already do you? Right? Like, my impression was every single time he had a new record, people were like, didn't they that's the Nirvana guy, right? Like when Hair Day came out, people were like, did we? But we did that though, right? Isn't it the funny guy? Like, you see, he's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that was every record up to Mandatory Fun. And if I'm being honest, I think that what has happened since that, well, two things I feel like have happened since Mandatory Fun that have elevated him to the status I think he should have been in the first place. Number one is nerd culture is all the rage and has been for almost a decade now. About 2014, 2013 is about when, quote unquote, nerd culture started becoming more fun. Whenever the Big Bang Theory went on the air, that's when people started. I know, I'm not a huge fan of the show either, but it helped.
It helped
with bringing the whole quote. I'm heavily using Dr. Evil quotes with nerd culture because I think that's kind of insulting to say.
It is
nerd culture, but
it normalized things that it opened the curtain. It opened the window on.
So
stuff,
I feel like that was a big one. Second thing is, I think it's very much a don't know what you got till it's gone situation where Weird Al has not put out another record since the Mandatory Fun. And I feel like it's, obviously he's still with us in body, mind, and spirit, but you and I have talked about this heavily. I'm as being a huge MJ fan, being a huge Prince fan. I do not like the fact that we never care about our artists till they're gone. The whole world, as soon as Prince passed away, was like, did you know Prince put out 400 albums and he played guitar and I was like, yep. I knew that the whole time. Yes, I knew that the entire time. Like when I was going to see Prince with a couple hundred people in the late 90s and you were being like, oh, that idiot who changed his name to nothing. Like, yes, I was aware then that Prince was amazing, And with Weird Al, I feel like he's still physically here, but he's gone away in many ways. And I say that I know that Weird Al Yankovic story is a thing. And I know he just put out a new song with that soundtrack and re-recorded stuff. That is far different from getting old, reliable, awesome Weird Al record every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And I feel like he's been sainted now because he's not here.
That's fair.
Do you see what I'm saying?
That absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I remember absolutely losing my mind when the Hamilton polka came out.
Right.
And I'm not even a Hamilton.
No, you're not. Actually.
I don't Hamilton.
No, you don't.
But I was like, oh my God, this is a new Weird Al polka. And knowing how much of a Weird Al fan Lin-Manuel Miranda is and all that stuff. So like the first time I heard the Hamilton.
Has Jen had the chance to ask Lin if he grew up on Weird Al or did Lin just become a fan?
That's a good question.
Jen's asking the important questions.
Yeah, that's true. My mom's got her finger on the pulse. But no, I think the first time I heard Hamilton polka was that video where Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jimmy Fallon are hearing it and they're reacting to it.
Right.
So I think that's probably like, I totally get what you're saying. It was a one-off shard of brilliance that got put out there. And I remember being like, oh my God, I used to get this feeling like every couple of years when he'd put something out. And now he doesn't.
I know.
So that tracks. And I also think I remember the week that Mandatory Fun came out because it was a new video on a different website every day for like a week.
Yeah.
And I that was one of the best weeks of my life.
Yeah.
I literally remember what cubicle I was in at my office when that came out. Like I can see Mandatory Fun week in my brain because like that's
Actually, I made a friend because of buying Mandatory Fun on vinyl. I just remembered that. Like when it came out, Scotty, Scotty from he's now at Rock City Music, and at the time he was at UHF Records in Royal Oak. And I went in there because they were the only people at the time. Everybody was posting new releases on vinyl at that time were much smaller than you would think. Like now, everything comes out on vinyl like the day and date, right? Then usually, even let me put it this way: the latest Eminem record at that time came out like 6 weeks on vinyl after the CD or the streaming, right? But the day Mandatory Fun came out, they were the only store that posted that would be like, hey, we got our new vinyl releases. And one of the three was Mandatory Fun. I was like, holy crap. So I called there and I was like, I need that Weird Al record. And they were like, I think it was Scotty who might have answered the phone, but he was like, wow, I didn't expect to hear somebody say those words today. And I was like, I will be there in 40 minutes. I live, over in this area and I'll be at Royal Oak ASAP, right? And I damn near skidded this car to a stop, to go in and get it. But Scotty and I stood there and talked about Weird Al for a good 10, 15 minutes. And, we go to this day, like literally, I call back to Michigan and give my credit card to Scotty to still buy records from him and the good folks at Rock City Music Company, rockcitymusiccompany.com. And I don't know, shameless plug. Those are great guys.
No shame.
If you're into music, you should buy it from Rock City Music. Call and ask for Nick or Scotty and tell them Russ said so. But
true.
yeah, I literally met Scotty because of that. And it's so funny, the diversity. The first 2 times in life I interacted with Scotty was at the day I bought Mandatory Fun, and then I ran into him at a Motley Crue concert.
There you go.
So, but anyways, yeah, I just, I think that's why he's been sainted since then.
That's a really good point.
And, for me, I know you came into him in Bad Hair Day, and that's quite a chunk of time ago. But for me, it really is something to have been able to see him the entire time.
That's why I had to, we've told this story on the show a bunch of times, but like we got Bad Hair Day, and then our dad went up to the attic or whatever because he had the self-titled debut album on cassette,
Right.
And so he was like, "Wait, there's more of this," and so then my brother and I had to fill in the gaps between the debut and Bad Hair Day.
Even though 3D is the second record,
It's the first proper record.
Yeah, but here's my thing. So like the biggest artist that I've loved my whole life, and you're aware of this, like Elvis Presley passed away when I was 2 years old, right? So obviously the bulk of his career was over before I even was born, right? MJ, sure, Thriller is like a big kickoff to his personal or his solo career, right? But like when I got into MJ, I was like, what? This kid's been at it since he was like 5? Like I didn't know, right?
Right.
Prince, even I caught up to Prince. I think Little Red Corvette was the first song I heard. Either that or Automatic. Either way, it was off of 1999 and 82, right? And then I come to find out, Prince has been at this since 78, right? So like even Prince had put out like 4 or 5 records and started in, even though it was 82 to 78, it was still the decade before, it's so even like Prince is like one of my favorite artists of all time. And I still wasn't there even close to the beginning. Whereas Weird Al like picked up on the second record and he's like been like my guy, and I sincerely doubt we'll ever get another full proper Weird Al record from him. And if we don't, that means that like I was literally there for the entirety of the ride when he was releasing brand new albums.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And I mean, it's admirable. And I love that you've been on this ride for such a long time. It means a lot to have somebody who understands the way that
well, it certainly helped the religious aspect of your family.
It sure did. You didn't have to convert.
Yeah, I didn't have to convert to Alism. From what's that one guy? I can't think. There's a guy that's like people always say he's the guy who when Napster and LimeWire came out, all of his songs was the guy that people kept thinking were Weird Al, but then he's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but he's like very dirty.
Yeah.
He does I Am Santa Claus and all that stuff. Bob Rivers.
There you go.
I see you Googling it, but I just came up with it. Bob Rivers is like the dirty version of Weird Al. And he's not always dirty, but he, that type of thing. But I did not have to convert from Bob Rivers to Weird Al. I was already indoctrinated.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah. And I think that's important. So that was fun. Did you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, on the whole clip thing. And I know this is your show, but like I'm gonna say to everybody again, like be involved in this. If you've ever listened to the show or enjoyed any of this, like I assure you being involved in it is as much or more fun than listening to the show. So just to reiterate what I said earlier, I don't care if you literally don't own one piece of equipment that records, like your cell phone will record. Like record, 30 seconds to 3 minutes of you just sharing one of your Weird Al stories of an impact that he had on his life. Send it to Lauren. Between me, her, the good folks at BFYTW, like we can make it sound fine. Don't be conscious of recording audio. It's the message that matters, not the quality of sound.
That's a very good point. So please don't be scared. I'm very nice. I'm very nice to deal with. You can be. I can be.
Yeah.
I can be.
You have the ability to be.
I do have the ability to be. Yeah. I've had guests on the show who have said that they were nervous before, and then once they got it, they're like, "I'm so glad I reached out to you."
I get that all the time going on other people's shows. Like other people said, they're always like, "Oh my God, we were so nervous to have you on," and I'm like, "Why?"
I was nervous to have you on the show for the first time, but you You don't scare me now.
No. But the only other point that I want to say to everybody is, don't go making anything up, but like share your most interesting thing. Like if you have a ton of Weird Al points and you can't narrow it down, just go with the one you think is the most interesting, that's had an impact on your life in some way. And, you'll definitely get featured on that clip show, but then, I'm telling you to come back and talk shop for Weird Al is like a really fun thing for fans to get to do. I just had someone on Twitter earlier today say that, and it wasn't about Weird Al, it was about a different artist, but they said, it's really amazing to get to talk to people who love and get an artist in the same way that you do. And so if you are a person who has an issue where you're like, oh, I have so much Weird Al connection, it's going to be hard for me to narrow it down, then like you really need to be coming on the show and talking about it.
Absolutely. So, like I said, email me the clip, beerdalpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to give me a little bit of a teaser in the body of your email with some, any of the other stories, and if you'd like to be featured in an actual episode, much like this one, and I think Russ was the perfect guinea pig for something like this. So we'll just sit down, have a Weird Al convo. But really, I want those clips. I want to put it together for Weird Al's birthday, and so we don't want to disappoint Weird Al. So I need a good clip show, and I can't do a good clip show without you. So that's my asking. That's me asking. I need your help. I need your help. All right. I think we're done here. I've never been good at closing this show. I like to keep going, but I think we're done.
Yeah, I mean, it's with a thing like this too. It's kind of just like, well, I shared some Weird Al stories, and there's no good way to be like, okay,
that's all the Weird Al stories there is.
But yeah, my big thing is my takeaway that I want people to end it on is be part of this.
Yeah, it's super fun to be part of, and like I said at the beginning, when I've done a clip show situation like that, Weird Al hears it, so he'll hear what you have to say if you just come on and say it. So I guess with that, we're gonna wrap this episode. I actually have to say this because you, Russ, have been on this show for the past 3 episodes in a row now.
Oh, that's funny.
And I don't know that John has ever done that.
That's great.
So, no, maybe at the beginning, but he hasn't done it in like nearly 3 years. So, kudos and huzzah to you.
Absolutely. Look at me go.
Look at you go. You're right up there now. And all right, without further ado, here's the theme. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with something. It might be Tyler. It might not be. Who knows?
Sorry, we got a 1. We got a capital again.